The door swung open with a faint creak, and in stepped a homeless teenager into my quiet bookstore. She couldn't have been older than 16. Her clothes were a patchwork of mismatched layers, dirty, worn out, clearly showing signs of neglect. The backpack slung over one shoulder was frayed, the zippers barely holding together. She looked lost, the kind of lost that didn't belong in a store like mine, a store that used to feel like home. But when she opened her mouth to ask, "Are you hiring?" something in me froze. I should have said no, should have turned her away like any other business might have done, but I couldn't. The words got stuck in my throat as I looked at her face. There was something there, something achingly familiar, something that reminded me of a time I had buried deep inside, something I hadn't thought about for 2 long years. I froze as recognition set in. Her eyes, her mouth, her expression, everything about her mirrored someone I had once loved. And then when she said her mother's name, Amanda Carter, the world stopped spinning for a moment. Amanda. I knew that name deep from the past. It had been 17 years since I last heard it, but it felt like it had only been yesterday. Amanda, who had been in my life long ago, a young woman who once shared quiet afternoons in the bookstore with my son Chris. They were inseparable that summer, their whispers and laughter filling the store, their faces buried in poetry books. And then one day, just like that, Amanda disappeared. I looked at the girl in front of me, her face now betraying her vulnerability. She was Amanda's daughter. Of course she was. The timeline fit perfectly. Chris, my son, had been 17 then, and now, 16 years later, this girl stood in front of me asking for a job, seeking something I had never anticipated, someone I hadn't seen in over a decade. My heart raced, but I couldn't let her know that, not yet. So I hired her on the spot, not knowing what would happen next, not knowing how much my life would change because of this one decision. I offered her a place to sleep, a warm bed, a roof over her head, but I never told her why. The truth, if what I suspected was right, was too much to bear. This was more than a simple hiring. If this girl was who I thought she was, then it would change everything, not just for her, but for me, and for the person who had shut me out of their life 2 years ago, the person I had seen in her face the moment she walked in. I spent the next few weeks torn, caught between two truths I couldn't reconcile. Every day, as she came to work, I fought the urge to confront her with what I suspected, to test my theory, to open a door I wasn't sure I was ready to face. And all the while, she was just trying to survive, to find her place in a world that had let her down. My name is Linda, and this is my story. Before I continue, though, please leave a comment below telling us where you're watching from, and be sure to subscribe to Never Too Old. We're building a community of people who understand that our best chapters can still happen at any age. Now let's go back to the story. It was a cold Tuesday in November when everything changed. The kind of cold that makes your fingers ache just from holding a cup of coffee. Inside the bookstore, the warmth from the heater never quite reached the back corners, and it felt as though the chill had settled deep into my bones. I was behind the counter, doing the books for the day, numbers that didn't add up no matter how many times I checked. The store had become quieter as the years went by. Fewer customers, more time for me to sit and remember when things were different, when Paul was still alive, when the store was alive. 4 customers that day, maybe 5. It felt like too much space, too much emptiness. The door creaked open and I heard the familiar shuffle of footsteps. A girl stepped in. She was young, maybe 16, 17 at most. Thin, too thin, as if she hadn't been eating enough. Her clothes were too big for her body, the sleeves of her jacket covering her hands. There was dirt on her jeans, dirt at the knees. She had that look, the one you get when you're trying to make yourself small in a world that doesn't care about you. I noticed something about her, something familiar about her face, but I couldn't place it. It was like she was a character I had read about in a book I couldn't quite remember. She wandered over to the fiction section, scanning the shelves, her fingers grazing the spines of books, as if she was looking for something, but didn't know exactly what. I gave her space, continuing with my work behind the counter, but my attention kept drifting to her. She spent the next 20 minutes or so wandering through the store, lingering in the poetry section, picking up books, reading first pages. I watched her from the corner of my eye. She was killing time, I could tell, finding refuge in the warm air of the store, staying out of the cold, like so many others had done in the past. But there was something else, something about her that felt different. After a while, she picked up the book she had left on the table in the poetry section. She cradled it in her arms like it was something precious, something fragile. Then she walked up to the counter and stopped a few feet away. "Excuse me?" Her voice was soft, almost tentative. I looked up. "Yeah?" She shifted her weight from one foot to the other. "Are you hiring?" I hesitated, my fingers pausing over the ledger. "How old are you?" 16, she said quickly, like it was a practiced answer. "I know I'm young, but I work hard. I can prove it." I studied her for a moment. She looked me right in the eye. There was something about her, something familiar, something that tugged at my heart. "What's your name?" "Jennifer." She paused for a beat. "Jennifer Carter." The name hit me like a ton of bricks. Carter. I turned the name over in my mind, trying to place it. But it didn't take long. I knew that name. Jennifer Carter. The daughter of Amanda Carter. The woman from my past, the one I had never truly gotten over. And now, here she was, her daughter, right in front of me. Jennifer seemed to notice the shift in my expression, the way my face must have betrayed the recognition. She seemed uncertain for a moment, unsure whether I would send her away. But I couldn't do that. Not to her. Not to Amanda's daughter. "Where do you live, Jennifer?" I asked, trying to steady my voice. Her gaze dropped. "There's a shelter a couple blocks away. I've been staying there." A shelter? This girl was homeless. "Where are you from?" "Upstate," she said. "I ran away from an orphanage about a year ago." An orphanage? My heart ached for her. At just 16 years old, she had already experienced more pain than any child should ever have to encounter. "I'm sorry," I said softly. She nodded, "Thank you." And then, as if it were the most casual thing in the world, she added, "Her name was Amanda. Amanda Carter." And there it was. My heart stopped. The world slowed. Amanda. That name tied to so many memories. That name that had walked out of my life and never returned. But now, standing in front of me, was her daughter, Jennifer Carter. I didn't know what to do, how to respond. But I did know this. I wasn't going to let this girl go back to a shelter tonight. I wasn't going to let her go back out into that cold world without a fight. "I have a job," I said, my voice a little more steady now. "If you want it, it's yours." Jennifer's eyes went wide. "Really?" "Really. You can start tomorrow at 9. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice cracking. "I promise I won't let you down." "I believe you." And with that, she left, disappearing back into the cold, leaving me standing there in the quiet bookstore, my heart a mess of confusion and hope. The next morning, Jennifer showed up at 8:45 a.m., as if she was nervous that I might change my mind. I was unlocking the door when I saw her walking quickly down the sidewalk, carrying the same worn backpack. Her jacket was a little different, but still too big for her frame. Her hair pulled back in a ponytail. She moved fast, like she was afraid to give me the chance to tell her no. Good morning, I said as she approached. Good morning, she replied, stopping just outside the door. I'm not too early, am I? Not at all, I said, opening the door wider. Come on in. I turned on the lights, the old overhead fixtures flickering before they caught. The store looked different in the morning light, the dust motes floating in the air as the sunlight streamed through the front windows. There was something magical about the morning light, something that made the bookstore feel alive, even when it had been so quiet for so long. Have you had breakfast? I asked her, my voice casual, trying to ignore the tightness in my chest. She hesitated, her eyes flicking to the floor. I'm fine. I could see right through that lie. There's a coffee shop next door. Go get yourself something. Tell Marco I sent you, he'll put it on my tab. She opened her mouth to protest, but I cut her off. You can't work on an empty stomach. Go. I'll be here when you get back. She didn't argue, just nodded and left. While she was gone, I took the time to clear off the desk in the back office. The couch there was old, the cushions sagging with age, but it was clean and warm. I found an old blanket in the storage closet, along with a pillow that smelled faintly of mothballs. Not much, but it was better than the cold shelter she'd been staying in. Jennifer came back 15 minutes later with a coffee and a muffin wrapped in paper, a small smile on her face. Thanks, she said, setting the muffin on the counter. I'll pay you back when I get paid. I waved it off. Don't worry about it. We spent the morning going over the basics, how to work the register, where the different sections of the store were, how to recommend books. Jennifer learned fast, and I could see she was already becoming comfortable in her new role. She asked thoughtful questions and took notes in a small notebook she pulled out from her backpack. By lunchtime, I let her handle the register while I did some inventory in the back. She was careful with the customers, polite and engaging. I could tell she had a natural way with people, a calm and kindness that made them feel at ease. I watched her through the doorway, proud of the way she was handling herself. In the afternoon, she took a break in the poetry section, sitting on the floor with her notebook open. I could see her writing, then crossing things out, writing again. I took a deep breath and approached her slowly. Find something good? I asked, trying to make conversation. She looked up, startled, then smiled faintly. Nothing, just stories, I guess. You write? I asked, sitting down on the step still near her. Sort of, she shrugged, her face turning slightly red. It's stupid. It's not stupid, I said gently, my heart aching for her. I can see you're passionate about it. She paused, then nodded, looking down at her notebook. Books were kind of my friends when I was younger, when things got bad at home. I felt my heart break as she spoke, her voice quiet, distant. What happened at home, Jennifer? She didn't answer right away, her eyes focused on the pages of her notebook. When she finally spoke, her voice was steady, but full of quiet pain. My mom had problems, drugs mostly. It started after I was born. I don't really remember a time before it. I used to find her passed out on the couch or in the bathroom when I was little. I learned to hide things from the neighbors, make excuses for her. I couldn't imagine what it was like, living with that kind of responsibility at such a young age. That's a lot for a kid to handle, I said softly. I didn't have a choice, she replied, her voice flat, matter of fact. I took care of her. When I was about 10, maybe younger, I'd have to call for help sometimes. I got good at hiding things, making excuses. My chest tightened, my thoughts turning to my own son, Chris, and how differently he had grown up, how much easier he'd had it. I'm so sorry, Jennifer. She nodded, her face not showing much emotion. It's fine. After she died, I ended up in foster care, then the orphanage. That place was awful, cold. They didn't care about us. We were just numbers. I could see the years of hardship and trauma in her face.
in the way she held herself. And yet here she was, surviving. "So you left?" I asked, needing to understand. "Yeah," she said, the corner of her lips turning down. "Last year, I turned 15 and I just walked out. Been on my own since." I sat back, my mind reeling. This girl had lived more in 16 years than most people did in a lifetime. I could see now why she was so determined and resilient. But I also saw the loneliness in her eyes, the part of her that longed for something more, something she had never had. I understood that loneliness all too well. The days that followed were a blur of quiet conversations, the hum of the register, and Jennifer learning the ropes of the bookstore. She worked hard, never complained, and always arrived on time. She started taking an interest in the business, suggesting new ways to organize the shelves, ways to make the store more inviting to customers. One day, she even came up with the idea to move the young adult section closer to the front of the store, where it would get more attention. The change brought more customers in, and I could see the spark in Jennifer's eyes when she realized her ideas were making a difference. Over the next few weeks, we grew closer. Jennifer began to tell me more about her life, about her mom, about the way things had been before everything fell apart. She didn't talk about it often, but when she did, I listened. The bookstore began to feel less like just a business to me and more like a place where I could finally put down some of the weight I had been carrying for years. It was as if Jennifer had brought something back into my life that I hadn't even realized I was missing. And then, one evening, after we'd closed the store, Jennifer sat down across from me with a hesitant look on her face. "Do you ever wonder if things could have been different?" She asked quietly, her fingers nervously playing with a pen on the counter. I looked at her, my heart heavy with the memories of my own past. "All the time." Jennifer nodded, looking down. "I keep thinking about my mom, about how things could have been better for her, for me, but they weren't. And now I have this chance." Her voice trailed off, and I could see the fear in her eyes. "You're not alone, Jennifer. You're not alone anymore."
The days went by and Jennifer settled into her new routine. The bookstore had become a safe haven for her, a place where she could breathe, think, and dream without the constant fear and uncertainty of the world outside. I saw her grow in small but significant ways. She began to smile more, her laughter becoming more frequent, though always a little guarded, like she was testing out the feeling of joy for the first time in years. By the third week, Jennifer had become a crucial part of the store. She handled customers with ease, recommending books with a warmth that made people feel like they belonged. She took charge of the young adult section, putting her ideas into motion, creating displays, and writing little handwritten notes about the books she loved. It was clear that she was more than just someone working to survive. She was beginning to build something here. She was starting to feel like she was home. The evening light in the bookstore became our time. As the sun began to set and the street lights flickered on, we'd sit in the back office, sipping our coffee, talking about books, life, and everything in between. One evening, after we had locked up the store and cleaned up, Jennifer sat across from me at the kitchen table. Her notebook, filled with stories she'd written, was lying in front of her. "Do you ever think about the past?" she asked suddenly, her voice soft but filled with curiosity. "About how things could have turned out differently?" I paused, thinking about the many twists and turns that had brought me to this point. "I think about it all the time. There's always a moment, isn't there? A moment where things could have gone a different way and we wonder what would have happened." Jennifer nodded, her eyes downcast. "My mom, she used to talk about how things could have been different.
She always said she was too broken to be a good mom, that she didn't deserve me. She looked up at me then, her eyes searching for something. Do you think that's true? I felt a lump in my throat. I had been where she was, feeling like the past had left scars that were too deep to heal. I reached across the table, placing my hand on hers, comforting her in the only way I knew how. Your mom loved you. She did the best she could. And you've turned out more than fine, Jennifer. You're strong, kind, and full of talent. You didn't deserve any of the pain she went through, but that doesn't make you broken. Not at all. She squeezed my hand, and for the first time in a long time, I saw a spark of hope in her eyes. Thanks, Linda. I I don't know what I would have done without you. You don't have to do it alone anymore. And you don't have to apologize for the past. We all have our stories, Jennifer. The past is just a chapter. It doesn't define who we are. Her smile was small but real. It made something inside me shift. There was still so much healing to be done, but we were doing it together. Every day that she walked through the bookstore doors felt like another step toward a better future for both of us. Winter came and went, and the bookstore continued to thrive with Jennifer's hard work. The customers who only once wandered in occasionally were now regulars, and the word about the bookstore was slowly spreading through the community. Jennifer had become more than just an employee. She was a fixture in the store, someone who brought warmth and life to the place that once felt so cold and empty. One afternoon, as we were preparing for an upcoming author reading, Jennifer came to me with an idea. Linda, she began, her voice full of excitement, what do you think about hosting a book club? I looked up from the book I was organizing on the shelf. A book club? Yeah, she said, her hands gesturing wildly as if she couldn't contain her excitement. It's something I've always wanted to do. I think people would love it. We could make it a monthly thing. Different themes, different books, maybe even bring in local authors to talk about their work. I could see it in her eyes, the same fire, the same spark I had seen when I first hired her. I think that's a wonderful idea, I said with a smile. Let's do it.
And just like that, the first Williams Bookstore Book Club was born. Jennifer made flyers, posted them in local cafes, and spread the word on social media. She designed a welcoming space in the back of the store, setting up a table, chairs, and soft lighting. The first meeting was small, just a handful of people, but it grew quickly, and soon we had a full group, all eager to discuss the books Jennifer had carefully chosen. The book club wasn't just about books. It was about creating a community. Jennifer was a natural leader, guiding discussions with ease, making everyone feel comfortable, like their opinions mattered. I watched her with pride, knowing that I had given her the space to grow, to find herself, to become something more than the girl who had walked into my bookstore with nothing but a backpack. One evening, after the book club had finished, we sat together at the counter. The store was quiet, the last of the customers had left, and the only sound was the soft hum of the heater. I've been thinking, Jennifer said, twirling her pen in her fingers. I want to go to college. I want to get a degree in literature or something related. I want to teach one day. I never thought that would be possible. I never thought I'd be able to go to school. But now I think I can. And I think I want to. My heart swelled with pride. You can do anything you set your mind to, Jennifer. You've already proven that. I'm not sure where to start, she admitted, her brow furrowed in thought. But I think I want to start applying this year. It's scary, thinking about being part of something bigger. You've already started, Jennifer, I said softly. You've already made it. You've built something for yourself, and now you're going to take it further. I have no doubt you'll succeed. You've got the heart and the drive to do whatever you set your mind to. She smiled, a small but genuine smile, and for a moment, I saw the young girl who had walked into my bookstore for the first time, but now she was different, stronger, more certain of herself. Thank you, Linda, for everything. I pulled her into a hug, squeezing her tight. You don't need to thank me. I'm just glad I got to be a part of your story. The months passed quickly and the bookstore flourished under Jennifer's influence. Her second book had come out and it had done even better than the first. Her writing was raw, powerful, and honest. Stories of survival, of pain, and of hope. I knew she was destined for great things, but I never imagined just how far she'd go. Then, one day, she came to me with news I hadn't expected. I've been accepted, she said, holding up the letter. To college. I got in. Tears welled in my eyes as I hugged her tightly. I knew you would. She had made it. And so had I, in a way. We both had. The years passed and Jennifer's career took off. Her books hit the bestseller lists, and she began to give talks, attend book festivals, and make a name for herself. But no matter how far she went, she always made time for the bookstore, for me, for the place where it all started. She never forgot where she came from. I was 76 now, my hair completely gray, my hands aching from years of work. But I still showed up every day. The bookstore was still mine, and it always would be. Jennifer had her own apartment now, just a few blocks away, but she came to the bookstore every morning, our coffee ritual never changing. One day, as we sat together in the back office, Jennifer handed me a small envelope. I want to dedicate my next book to you, she said quietly, for everything you've done for me, for giving me a place to belong, for helping me become who I am today. I opened the envelope to see the dedication, written in beautiful handwriting. To Linda, who gave me home, family, and stories. I couldn't hold back the tears. I don't deserve this, I whispered. You do, she said. Her voice was strong and steady. You've always been my family, Linda. You've been the mother I never had. And just like that, everything I had ever wanted, everything I had ever dreamed of, came to life in that moment. I had a daughter, not by blood, but by choice. A daughter who had grown from a frightened, homeless teenager into a successful, confident woman. As the years passed, Jennifer's career continued to soar, and our bookstore became a place of refuge for so many others, just like it had been for her. We mentored young writers, fostered creativity, and built a community of people who understood the importance of stories. Stories that could heal, inspire, and change lives. The bookstore was thriving, just like Jennifer had. And I knew, deep in my heart, that it had been worth every sacrifice, every decision, every moment of doubt. And that's my story. The story of a woman who found family when she least expected it, who opened her heart to a young girl who had nothing but a backpack and a dream. Jennifer had given me more than I could ever have imagined. She had given me a second chance at family. Now I want to hear from you. Do you think Jennifer made the right choice with Chris? Or should she have listened to me from the start? Let me know what you think in the comments below, and be sure to subscribe for more stories like mine. As Jennifer's journey progressed, I watched her bloom into a person I could hardly recognize from that first day she walked into my bookstore. She wasn't just the young girl with the worn backpack anymore. She had become someone stronger, someone with purpose. There were days when I could see the weight of the past on her shoulders, especially when she talked about her mother, Amanda, or when she would disappear into her writing. But on most days, she was bright-eyed, passionate, and had an energy about her that was contagious. The bookstore continued to grow as well. It became more than just a place to buy books. It was a gathering space for the community. The book club, which had started as just an idea, grew into a well-loved tradition. Every month, we hosted passionate discussions with readers of all ages, talking about everything from classic literature to new releases, and we always managed to create a sense of belonging for those who attended. Jennifer took charge of the book club, curating reading lists and leading discussions with the confidence I never thought I'd see in her when she first arrived. There were days when the store was filled with the hum of voices, book lovers chatting, sharing recommendations, and sharing their lives. I couldn't help but feel immense pride watching Jennifer lead these groups, talking about books with such enthusiasm and knowledge. She'd always been passionate about literature, but now it was clear she had found her place. One quiet afternoon, as we were closing up for the day, Jennifer came to me with a thoughtful look on her face. She was holding a piece of paper in her hands, and her lips were pressed tightly together, as if she was trying to figure out the best way to say what she had in mind. "I've been thinking," she said, sitting down across from me. "Maybe it's time I write something different. Not just the stories, but something real. Something about my journey, about this place, about us." I paused, looking at her. "You mean a memoir?" I asked, my voice gentle. She nodded. "Yeah, I've been toying with the idea for a while. I want to write about everything I've been through. My mom, the foster care, running away, meeting you, the bookstore, everything that's shaped me. But I don't know where to start." "You already started," I said, giving her a soft smile. "The fact that you're here, alive, and thriving is proof enough that you have a story worth telling." Jennifer looked down at the paper in her hands, her fingers lightly tracing the edges. "It's just hard to put everything into words. So much of my life feels like it's wrapped up in pain, and I don't know if I want to relive that. But at the same time, I think people should hear it. Maybe it could help someone else. You don't have to share it with the world all at once. Take your time. Write for yourself first. Write your truth. And if it's meant to be shared, it will find its way." Jennifer nodded, her eyes filled with a mix of hope and uncertainty. "Thanks, Linda. You've always believed in me, even when I didn't believe in myself." "I will always believe in you," I said, my voice steady with certainty. "Because you've proven, time and time again, that you can overcome anything." A few months later, after a particularly busy holiday season, Jennifer came to me one morning, her eyes sparkling with excitement. She had a letter in her hands, and when she handed it to me, I saw the words "college acceptance" printed across the top in bold letters. "I did it," she said, almost breathless. "I got accepted to the university I applied to. It's a scholarship, too, for literature. I never thought this would be possible." Tears welled up in my eyes as I hugged her. "I knew you would. You deserve this more than anyone." Jennifer smiled, her eyes glistening. "I never imagined I'd go to college. When I was living on the streets, that was something I could only dream about. But now it's real." "You've earned this," I said, my heart swelling with pride. "You've worked so hard and you've come so far. This is just the beginning." As the years passed, Jennifer continued to balance her work at the bookstore with her studies. She graduated college with honors and decided to pursue writing full-time. Her books were now being read by thousands, and it didn't take long before her work was being recognized by literary communities across the country. She published her memoir, an honest, raw account of her struggles and triumphs. It was filled with pain, yes, but also with hope. People connected with her story in ways we hadn't expected. It was a bestseller within weeks, and Jennifer became a voice for those who had felt invisible for so long, for those who had suffered quietly, just like she once had. But even with all the success, Jennifer remained grounded. She never forgot where she came from, never forgot the bookstore that had given her a second chance. It became a symbol of hope, of starting over, and of building a future even when the past seemed too heavy to carry. She started mentoring young writers, especially those from backgrounds like hers, kids who had aged out of foster care or who had grown up in difficult circumstances. She wanted to give them what she had once needed, someone who believed in them, someone who saw their potential, someone who was willing to help them find their way.
And I watched her do it day after day, with the same love and care that she had once shown me. She had become the woman I had always known she could be, the woman who had taken her pain and turned it into something beautiful, something that could inspire others. One day, after a book signing event, Jennifer came to me with a look of determination in her eyes. "Linda," she said, sitting down across from me, "I've been thinking about something. I want to do more. I want to open a writing school, somewhere for kids who need a place to belong, a place where they can express themselves and learn to find their voice. I want to teach them what you taught me, how to believe in themselves." My heart swelled. "I think that's a brilliant idea, Jennifer. You've always had a gift for making people feel seen. This could change lives." She smiled, her face lighting up with excitement. "I think so too. I've been talking to a few people and it's starting to come together, but I want you to be a part of it. This bookstore, it's always been our foundation. It's where everything started." I took her hands in mine, feeling the weight of the years, the journey we had been through together. "I'm proud of you, Jennifer. No matter where you go or what you do, you'll always be my family." And with that, I knew that we had built something that would last. Not just a bookstore, but a legacy. A legacy of hope, of resilience, of love, and of second chances. The years continued to pass, and Jennifer's writing school flourished. It became a place where kids found their voices, just like she had. The bookstore, now more than ever, was a symbol of what could be accomplished when you dared to dream, when you refused to let your past define you. Jennifer's fourth novel had just come out, and it was already being hailed as her best work yet. We hosted another launch party at the bookstore, and it was packed. Friends, family, young writers, and readers who had supported Jennifer since the very beginning. As she stood in front of the crowd, reading an excerpt from her book, I couldn't help but think back to the day she first walked into my bookstore. She had nothing then. Nothing but a backpack and a dream. And now, she had everything. After the party, as we were cleaning up, Jennifer turned to me with a look of determination in her eyes. "Linda," she said, sitting down across from me, "I've been thinking about something. I want to do more. I want to open a writing school, somewhere for kids who need a place to belong, a place where they can express themselves and learn to find their voice. I want to teach them what you taught me, how to believe in themselves." My heart swelled. "I think that's a brilliant idea, Jennifer. You've always had a gift for making people feel seen. This could change lives." She smiled, her face lighting up with excitement. "I think so too. I've been talking to a few people and it's starting to come together, but I want you to be a part of it. This bookstore, it's always been our foundation. It's where everything started." I took her hands in mine, and feeling the weight of the years, the journey we had been through together, "I'm proud of you, Jennifer. No matter where you go or what you do, you'll always be my family." And with that, I knew that we had built something that would last. Not just the bookstore, but a legacy. A legacy of hope, of resilience, of love, and of second chances. The years continued to pass, and Jennifer's writing school flourished. It became a place where kids found their voices, just like she had. The bookstore, now more than ever, was a symbol of what could be accomplished when you dared to dream, when you refused to let your past define you. Jennifer's fourth novel had just come out, and it was already being hailed as her best work yet. We hosted another launch party at the bookstore, and it was packed. Friends, family, young writers, and readers who had supported Jennifer since the very beginning. As she stood in front of the crowd, reading an excerpt from her book, I couldn't help but think back to the day she first walked into my bookstore. She had nothing then. Nothing but a backpack and a dream. And now, she had everything. After the party, as we were cleaning up, Jennifer turned to me and said, "You know, I never thought I'd end up here. I never thought I'd have a home, a family, a future, but you believed in me when
No one else did. You gave me a chance when I needed it the most. And now look at us. I smiled, my heart full. Look at us indeed. As the years went by, Jennifer's presence in the bookstore became more than just a constant. It became a reminder of everything that was possible, even when the odds seemed stacked against us. She wasn't just a young girl looking for a job anymore. She was now a woman with her own vision, her own voice, and her own dreams. Dreams that were taking shape in ways I could never have imagined when I first hired her. We both saw it, how the bookstore had transformed from a quiet, nearly forgotten place into a thriving community hub. People from all walks of life came in, not just for books, but for a sense of belonging. And at the heart of it all was Jennifer, leading book clubs, hosting author readings, mentoring aspiring writers, and building connections with customers like they were family. But as much as the bookstore grew, as much as Jennifer flourished, there was still a part of me that felt the weight of the past. The memories of Paul, of Chris, and of a life I had thought I had lost forever. Those years of grief still haunted me, though they no longer defined me. But sometimes on quiet afternoons, I'd find myself lost in thought, wondering what might have been if things had turned out differently. I wondered what Chris was doing now and whether he ever thought about me, about the store, about Jennifer. Jennifer knew this, of course. Over the years, we'd become more than just coworkers or a grandmother and granddaughter. We had become confidants, sharing our fears, our hopes, and our dreams. And it was during one of those quiet afternoons that Jennifer spoke the words I had been dreading to hear. "Linda," she said, sitting down next to me at the counter, her expression thoughtful, "do you ever think about him?" I knew exactly who she meant. "Chris," I replied, my voice barely above a whisper. She nodded, her eyes distant. "I mean, you've told me about him, about how he walked away, but do you ever wonder if he regrets it?" The question hit me like a freight train, but I refused to let it show. "I don't know, Jennifer. I don't know what goes on in his mind, but I know this. He made his choice. He chose his life over us, and maybe that's something I'll never fully understand." Jennifer looked at me, her eyes filled with a mixture of empathy and curiosity. "Do you ever think about reaching out to him? I mean, now that everything has changed, now that we're better." I sat back, considering her words carefully. The idea had crossed my mind once or twice over the years, but I always pushed it aside. The pain was still too raw, and the thought of confronting everything that had happened felt like opening a wound that had barely healed. But I could see Jennifer was struggling with her own feelings about Chris, too. After all, she had the right to know. She had the right to have a relationship with him, to understand her father, even if that relationship was complicated. "I've thought about it," I said quietly, "but I'm not sure I'm ready to go down that road again. There's too much history, too much hurt." Jennifer nodded, though I could see the disappointment in her eyes. "I understand," she said softly. "I just wish he'd come around. I don't know why he didn't want me, Linda. And sometimes I wonder if it's because I wasn't worth it. But you've made me feel like I am." I reached across the counter and took her hand, squeezing it gently. "You are worth more than anyone could ever measure. You've always been worth it. You're my family, Jennifer, and that's all that matters now." Her eyes filled with tears, but she blinked them away, forcing a small smile. "I know, but it would be nice if he could see that too." As the seasons passed, Jennifer's life continued to blossom in ways I couldn't have imagined. She had gone from a homeless teenager to a published author to a mentor, And now she was ready to take the next step in her journey. Her writing career had grown exponentially, with her memoir being celebrated for its raw honesty and emotional depth. It was recognized by critics, and her books became a fixture in bookstores nationwide. Her second book had made it to the bestseller lists, and her third was well on its way to the same success. But the most significant change in Jennifer's life came when she made the decision to open a creative writing school. It was something she had always dreamed of, a place where young people could come, just as she had, and find their voice. A place where they could heal through storytelling and find the strength to face the challenges of their own lives. "We're going to do this, Linda," Jennifer said, one day, her voice full of determination. "We're going to create something that will help kids like me, like we were. We'll give them the tools to build a future they can be proud of." Her vision was powerful, and I knew it was something she was truly passionate about. Together, we worked on the plans for the school, brainstorming ideas, gathering support, and building the framework for what would become a life-changing institution. It wasn't just about writing. It was about giving kids a sense of belonging, a sense of self-worth, and the confidence to chase their dreams, no matter how difficult their past might have been. We hosted open houses, partnered with local organizations, and reached out to schools that worked with underprivileged youth. Jennifer's passion was contagious, and soon the school was up and running. It became a place where kids could come after school, attend writing workshops, and connect with others who understood what they had been through. Jennifer led the workshops herself, guiding students through exercises in creative writing, poetry, and storytelling. The school became a haven for those who had always felt like outsiders, just as Jennifer had. It was during one of these workshops that Jennifer stood up after reading a story that one of her students had written and said, "This reminds me of something I've learned. No one ever tells you that your story matters, that your pain can be your strength. But that's what I want you to know. Your story matters. It will always matter." I watched her from the back of the room as she spoke those words with such conviction. This was the woman she had become, strong, fearless, full of compassion, and ready to help others find their voice. She was building something beautiful, something I never could have dreamed of when I first opened the doors of the bookstore. Months passed, and the writing school became more established. It wasn't easy, of course. There were hurdles, as there always are when starting something new. But with Jennifer's determination and my support, we made it work. The bookstore continued to thrive, and as the school grew, we began to host events together. Author meetings, creative writing contests, and workshops that brought people from all over the city to our little corner of the world. One afternoon, as we were setting up for another book signing event, Jennifer turned to me with a smile on her face. "I just wanted to thank you," she said softly, "for everything, for believing in me, for never giving up on me." I looked at her, my heart full. "You don't need to thank me. You did this, Jennifer. You made it happen. You're the reason we're here." She shook her head, her eyes glistening. "No, you were the one who gave me the chance when no one else would. You were the one who saw me when I didn't see myself." And in that moment, I realized something. This wasn't just about me helping her. It was about how we had helped each other. She had helped me find a new purpose, a new sense of family. And in doing so, we had both found something that would last forever. The years continued to pass, and Jennifer's school expanded, offering scholarships and outreach programs to even more young writers. She became a mentor to so many, and the bookstore became a community center for those who wanted to learn, share, and grow. Jennifer's books continued to climb the charts, and her name became synonymous with resilience, hope, and the power of storytelling. But what mattered most was that after all this time, Jennifer had found her place in the world. She had found her family, not just in me, but in the community she had built, in the young people she had mentored,
and in the legacy of the bookstore and writing school that would continue to help others for generations to come. And now, as I sit in the bookstore, looking out at the shelves of books that have become my life's work, I know that everything that happened, the pain, the loss, the loneliness, it was all worth it because it led me to this place, to this time, to this family. And I couldn't be prouder of the woman Jennifer has become. She is my granddaughter, my daughter, my family. And so that's my story. The story of a bookstore that became more than just a business. It became a place of second chances, of healing, and of hope. A place where family isn't always defined by blood, but by love, trust, and the willingness to build something together. Thank you for listening. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Do you think Jennifer's success was because of her own drive, or did the support from those who believed in her make all the difference? Let me know in the comments below and subscribe for more stories like mine.
As the bookstore and the writing school grew, so did the depths of the connection between Linda and Jennifer. There were times as the years passed when I could see the weight of everything Jennifer had endured in her eyes. But those same eyes now gleamed with purpose and strength. The girl who had walked into my bookstore with a torn backpack was now a woman with a mission. Every day, Jennifer taught me something new about resilience. She showed me that no matter how dark the past, there was always a way forward. It wasn't easy. We both faced our challenges, but we faced them together. We built a life, brick by brick, word by word, book by book. The community that had formed around the bookstore became our extended family. People came in for the books, yes, but they stayed for the connections. Discussions about literature, shared stories of hardship, and the hope that somehow this little bookstore could offer them a sense of belonging. Jennifer had turned it into a place of refuge, just as she had found in its warm, book-filled corners years ago. We hosted book clubs, readings, and writing workshops, each one drawing people from all walks of life. And Jennifer, she blossomed as a leader. She became the heart of the community, the mentor everyone turned to. She ran the workshops with the same passion she had poured into her own writing, and the kids she mentored started to find their own voices. It was a cool autumn evening when we decided to host an event for National Literacy Month. Jennifer had invited a few authors, and we planned a small panel discussion. The store was buzzing with excitement, and it was packed with people who had come to show support for local authors and writers, including the young people Jennifer had worked with through the writing school. As the event unfolded, I couldn't help but look around, taking it all in. The smiling faces, the vibrant energy, the sense of belonging that radiated through the room. Jennifer was standing at the front, leading the panel with poise and grace. She had come so far. The girl who had once feared being invisible now commanded the room, guiding the conversation with confidence and insight. I caught her eye from across the room, and she gave me a small, secret smile, a smile only we understood. It was the same smile she had given me all those years ago when I had hired her. But this time, it wasn't just a smile of gratitude. It was a smile of victory. She had found her place in the world. She had made it. After the events, when the last of the guests had left, Jennifer came over to me, her face glowing with the excitement of a successful evening. She said, "I can't believe it. We did it. We built this. All of us." I said, "You did it. You built this. This place, this community, everything. I'm so proud of you." She smiled softly, looking around at the empty store, the quiet that had settled in after the rush. "You were the first one to believe in me. When no one else would, you saw me. And because of that, I was able to see myself." "And look at you now," I said, my heart swelling with pride. "You've become someone I never could have imagined, but I've always known you had it in you." We stood there in silence for a moment, letting the weight of the evening settle between us. I knew we had come a long way, in ways that words can never fully capture. The following year brought new challenges. Jennifer's books were doing well, and her writing school was expanding rapidly. She had become a sought-after mentor, and more young writers began arriving at the bookstore, eager to learn from her. But despite her growing success, Jennifer never lost sight of what gotten her here: the struggles, the pain, the journey. One night, after a long day of meetings and writing sessions, Jennifer and I sat together in the back office. The room was quiet, just a soft hum of the heater in the background. Jennifer had her head in her hands, her fingers rubbing her temples in a gesture I had seen so many times over the years when the weight of everything became too much. "Linda," she said, her voice heavy, "do you ever wonder if all this is worth it? All the work, all the pressure? Sometimes I feel like I'm not doing enough, like there's always something more I could be doing, and I'm just falling short." I could hear the doubt in her voice, the same self-doubt I had heard when she first started. But now it wasn't about surviving, it was about sustaining, about keeping everything she had built going. She was carrying the weight of so many dreams, not just her own, but the dreams of the young writers she mentored, the students at her school, and the community that had come to rely on her. "Jennifer," I said gently, my voice soft but steady, "you're doing more than enough. You've already changed so many lives. You've created something that didn't exist before, a place where people can come and find hope, find their voice, find themselves. You're not falling short. You're building something lasting, something important." She looked up at me, her eyes filled with unshed tears. "But what if I mess it all up? What if I'm just pretending to be someone I'm not?" "That's the fear talking," I said, taking her hand, "the fear that comes from caring too much. But look at what you've already done. You've built this place. You've given people something to hold on to. That's not pretending, Jennifer. That's real. You're real." She nodded slowly, her eyes softening. "I know. It's just hard sometimes." "I know, but you don't have to do it alone. Not anymore." For the first time that night, Jennifer smiled. It was small, but it was genuine. "Thank you, Linda, for always being here, for always believing in me. I don't know what I would have done without you. You don't have to do anything alone, not anymore." As the years passed, I continued to watch Jennifer grow, not just as a writer, but as a person. She had found success, yes, but more importantly, she had found herself. She had found a family, and that family wasn't just the one she had been born into. It was the family she had created, piece by piece, with her own hands and heart. I began to realize something profound. Family isn't just about blood or shared history. It's about the bonds we choose to form, the people we choose to love, and the lives we choose to touch. I had been given the gift of family in ways I never expected, through Jennifer, through the bookstore, and through the community we had built together. And so on quiet nights like tonight's, when the bookstore was closed and the world outside seemed so far away, I would sit with Jennifer. We'd talk about books, about the future, about the lives we had touched. And I would know, deep down, that we had done something beautiful, something that would last far beyond the walls of this bookstore. And that's my story. The story of how I found family when I least expected it. The story of a young girl who walked into my bookstore with nothing but a dream and a backpack, and how together we built a life full of hope, love, and second chances. Jennifer made me believe again in family and the power of stories and in the beauty of new beginnings. I'd love to hear your thoughts. What's your take on the power of second chances? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories like mine. As the years continued to pass, I watched Jennifer transform from the young girl who had stumbled into my bookstore, uncertain and lost, into a woman whose name was now known to thousands.
Her books were celebrated, her writing school was flourishing, and she had become a beacon of hope for so many who, like her, had struggled to find their way. But more than that, Jennifer had become my family, not by blood, but by choice. She had walked into my life at a time when I felt like I had lost everything, and together we had built something beautiful, a place of belonging, a place of stories, a place of love. On the day of her book launch for her fourth novel, the bookstore was packed with people, readers, writers, and friends who had watched her journey unfold. I stood at the back of the room, watching her speak, watching her light up the room with her words. She was no longer the girl who had walked in looking for a job. She was a woman who had created a life that was all her own. As the event wound down and the last of the guests said their goodbyes, Jennifer came over to me, her face glowing with a mix of exhaustion and pride. "I couldn't have done this without you," she said softly, her voice filled with gratitude. "You gave me a chance when no one else did. You believed in me when I didn't believe in myself." I smiled, a tear slipping down my cheek. "No, Jennifer, you did this. You turned every piece of pain into something beautiful. You found your way and you built something that will last." She took my hand, squeezing it gently, "And I couldn't have done it without you." We stood there, together, in the bookstore that had become so much more than just a store. It had become a symbol of the power of second chances, of the importance of believing in each other, and of the strength we find when we choose to be a family, no matter how broken our past may have been. As the sun began to set, casting a warm glow over the bookshelves, I knew that this was the life I had always wanted, a life full of love, of hope, of stories, a life with Jennifer, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. And with that, our story ends not with an ending, but with a beginning, a new chapter in a life well lived, filled with resilience, love, and the beauty of finding family and unexpected places. Thank you for reading. Let me know your thoughts in the comments and subscribe for more stories of love, hope, and second chances.